The President of the United States, Congressman Joe Sestak of Pennsylvania, is good enough to join us now. Former admiral. I guess once you're an admiral, you stay an admiral, right? It's not like you lose it. Yeah. Hey, you know what's interesting about the situation with the North Koreans? I just listened to Robert Gibbs a little while ago, and it doesn't sound like the administration really has a plan. Can you fathom some kind of plan to deal with this? Because it seems every single president goes through this scenario.
You're right. I don't think we've come with an exact consensus, either in the administration or with Congress, of how to approach this. And so we should take advantage of what has to be a tactical pause right now, because internally, North Korea is going through a pretty tough political succession process to where the leader is trying to have one of his three sons take over. And the military, Rick, if you've noticed over the past 3 months, totally different than the past decades, is actually out in front with very strong, belligerent statements. It's actually executed a person who was involved in some of the rapprochement over the past year or two, and it's moved a former chief of staff of its army to the western border to be in charge of its forces. So people are playing for influence over the next 4 to 5 months. So what the president, I would recommend, should do is to work with China. I'm not opposed to direct negotiations, right, but China has similar goals as us, but different priorities. We both don't want a nuclear North Korea. They're more worried about too much pressure on North Korea and refugees overflowing their border. Well, now, all of a sudden, it's a little more concerned, I believe, about South Korea or Japan pursuing a nuclear capability. He needs to use this leverage to move China to our priority as well as our goal.
Does this guy scare you? I mean, is this guy truly a nut job, or is he acting like a nut job? And if he is a nut job, I mean, how do you deal with someone like that? Unstable?
You know, I don't think there's hardly anyone in America that really knows the answer to your question, but my assessment would be that he's not a true nut job. My assessment is he's playing wisely for his third son, Kim Il-sung, to become powerful. And we know right now, Rick, that they have several hundreds, thousands of missiles that can cover all of South Korea. Those 2 missiles they shot yesterday or today only goes 80 miles. They have ones that go a couple hundred miles that can cover all South Korea. So what they did in that case isn't that important. What's real important here is, can we get China, Japan, South Korea on the same priority? And that priority for us is no proliferation of the technology, because they are years away from miniaturizing a warhead to mate it to a missile, which you have seen twice in the longer-term attempts have failed. It's got to be waiting for this succession to end, and then we have someone to deal with, and that's what has to be under U.S. leadership, not China's.
That's interesting, because it may be at least signs of that possibly happening we're seeing for the very first time in the harsh reaction that we're seeing today from the Chinese toward the North Koreans. I'm sure a reaction that you at this point, Congressman, embrace. Thank you, sir, for taking time to talk to us once again.
Good to be back, Rick. Thanks.
We got rioting and we got destruction.